Alright, so naming angles. Now, these lines do not have to be parallel for the names to exist, but when they are parallel, then there's a special relationship among these names. So, for right now, they're not parallel, but they're still corresponding. So, corresponding, you got like 4 sets. 5 corresponds with 3. So, angle 5 and angle 3. And then another pair would be 4 corresponds with 2. So 4 and 2. A third pair. Let me start the timer. Alright, third pair. Now I'm not even writing them, I'm just going to circle them and color code them. So 1 and 7 are corresponding, they're in the same position, same location, and then your last one would be 6 and 8. So 4 different pairs of corresponding angles. Vertical angles, I think there's 4 different pairs. 5 and 7 are, because they're across from each other. 6 and 4 are. And then down on the other half, 8 and 2 are vertical, as well as 1 and 3. Okay, alternate interior angle, there's only 2 pairs of those. Alternate interior, 4 and 8 are alternate interior. And then the other pair is 7 and 3. Alternate exterior would be 5 and 1. And then the other pair would be 6 and 2. And the last way to identify angles, consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior is going to be 4 and 3. And then 7 and 8. Okay, from this diagram, these streets are parallel. If measure of angle 1 is 118 degrees, find the measure of angle 2. So if these lines are parallel, angle 1 and angle 2 are alternate interior angles and they're congruent. So measure of angle 2 must also be 118 degrees. If they tell you 3 is equal to 70 degrees, they want you to find 4. 3 and 4 are alternate exterior, and those are also congruent, so angle 4 would also be 70 degrees. And then the last one, if the measure of angle 1 was 100 degrees, now they want you to find 4. Okay, 1 and 2 are congruent, so 2's got to be 100, and then 4 is supplementary with 2 because that's a linear pair, they're on a straight line. Got to add and give you 180, so I've got 100 of it, all I'm missing is 80, so 4 would have to be 80. Okay, this bottom one, if I give you one angle, can you find all the rest? So, but then they want you, and I'm not going to write them down, but I'll just kind of speak through them. They want to know which, your reasoning behind why you say that is. So one I'm going to put in is 94. Okay, that means 7 is 94, and the reason is they're vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. 3 is also a 94, and the reason is 1 and 3 are corresponding. Same location, same position, and corresponding angles are congruent. And last one, 5, is also going to be 94 degrees. And the reasoning is either it corresponds with 7 or it's vertical with 3. Okay, now my other 4 angles are going to be 180 minus 94, so 86 degrees. So reason number 1 here, I'm going to go 8 first. 8 is 86 degrees, and my reason is because it's supplementary with 1, because they're on a straight line. 1 and 8 are a straight line, so 8 is 86, 2 is also 86, and the reasoning is that's a vertical pair. 6 is also 86, and my reasoning is it corresponds with 8. Corresponding angles are congruent if you've got parallel lines, which we do. And then the last one, 4, has got to be 86 degrees because it's vertical with 6. Okay, now this gets kind of messy. So, I wonder if there's a way I can blow it up really big. There we go, that might work. Okay, so I'm going to fill in what they give me. Measure angle 11 is 62, so that is 62 degrees, and then 14 is 38. Can we fill in all of the rest? Steve. Okay, now the big deal is these lines are parallel. So if these lines are parallel, the corresponding angles are congruent. So I could say 4 is 62 degrees because it corresponds with 11. And if 4 is 62, 3 is 62 because those are a vertical pair. 8 is going to be 62. 8 and 11 are a vertical pair. Okay, now 7 and 11, those are supplementary. So if you do 180 minus 62, that's going to be 118 degrees, and then 12 has got to be 118 because that's a vertical pair. Corresponding with 7 is actually 1 and 2, so I can't really get that. So I'm going to come over here to this angle 14 is 38 degrees. I'm going to find angle 9. Angle 9 is 38 degrees. And I'm going to find angle 13. 13 and 14 are a linear pair. They're on a straight line. They equal 180, so I'm going to do 180 minus 38. So angle 13 is 142 degrees. That means angle 10 is 142 degrees. And what else can we get? We can get, okay, 6 and 10 are supplementary because they're consecutive interior angles, so they will add and give you 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 142, and 6 should be 38 degrees. And if 6 is 38 degrees, 1 is also 38 degrees because they're vertical angles. And now I can figure out 5. So these 3 plus 6 plus 5, that's all on a straight line right here. So that's got to be 180. So if I do 180, take away 62, take away 38, whatever's left over, it's got to be 5. And what's left over is 80. And then 2's got to be 80 because those are both, that's a vertical pair. And then if I got it right, 5 and 8 and 9, they kind of make a triangle, so they all add up. And if they give you 180, because in a triangle there's 180 degrees, then it works. We did it right, and they do. So now let's move on to that other problem. Okay, now these lines are parallel. So if they're parallel and you're given 105, all the angles are going to be 105 or they're going to be 75. So this angle right here corresponds with 105, so I know 3x minus 15 is equal to 105. So the algebra 3x minus 15 is equal to 105. So plus 15 plus 15. So 3x is equal to 120. Divide by 3, divide by 3. So x is gotta be 40. And if this is 75, then this is also 75. So the math algebra is going to be y plus 25. It's got to be equal to 75. And now, easy, the algebra is easy, just minus 25 minus 25. So y has got to be 50. Okay, these four. So we're going to give you shapes. You got to find missing angles and you got to find variables. So these parallel lines. If you got parallel lines, if I extend them, and I've got this as a transversal right here, 120. This angle and this angle right here, these are consecutive interior. They're supplementary. They should add up and give you 180. So right off the bat, we know the value of x has got to be 60. So if you know x is 60, now I'm going to take that information and substitute it right there. So it's going to be 3 times 60. take away 70. So 180 take away 70 is going to give you 110. So this angle right here is 110 degrees. And if this is equal to 110 degrees, the left half of it has got to be a straight line, so it's got to be supplementary. So that means if you look at this 3y plus 40, it has got to give you 70 degrees. And then do the algebra, solve for y, so minus 40 minus 40. We got 3y is equal to 30, divide by 3, divide by 3. So that means y has got to be 10. Okay, this picture right here, same thing. If these lines are parallel, then the 120 and the 5y are consecutive interior angles, and they are supplementary. So 5y plus the 120 equals 180, so that means the proportion for 5y is 60 degrees. So you divide by 5, divide by 5, that means y has got to be 12. And then to find the x, the relationship between that and the 108, these are alternate interior angles, so they're congruent. So 2x has to be congruent to 108. So now you divide by 2, divide by 2. So x has got to be 54. Okay, so not too bad. Let's look at this one on the bottom left. Okay, down here, I think we're gonna just use the same relationship. Let's pair 96 with 2x. If these lines are parallel, 96 and 2x, those are gonna be consecutive interior. So you do 96 plus 2x, and they gotta add and give you 180. They total and give you 180. So minus the 96, minus the 96, 2x has gotta be 84, divide by 2, divide by 2, so x has to be 42. And then y is going to be the same thing. These are consecutive interiors, so they're also supplementary. So the 94 plus the 3y plus the 44 all adds together and gives you 180. So I'm going to have my 94 and 44. 94 plus 44. So my 3y plus 138 has to give you 180. So minus the 138 minus the 138. So the 3y equals 42. Then divide by 3, divide by 3. So the y has got to be 14. Okay, now this last one, I'm going to blow it up too. There's kind of two ways to do it. Okay, here's a cool way. So this 72 degree angle, if I put a third line that's parallel that goes right through that angle, so it cuts it into two angles, but it doesn't really bisect it, so you don't know, it doesn't cut it in half, you don't know how it divides it, it just divides it into two pieces. Now, and I say that this line is parallel to the two lines below it, that means this corresponding angle 50 is going to be right here. This is 50. So now I know how much this top half's got to be. The whole angle is 72. But if I know the bottom half of it's 50, I can subtract that from the total. And that means that this portion right here is 22 degrees. And now 22 is going to correspond, if this line continues, 22 is going to correspond with x, because they're in the same position. So x is going to be 22 degrees. Okay, now another way to solve it is by using a triangle. Okay, let me blow this up again. Okay, in a triangle there's 180 degrees. So here's how you do it with the triangle. I'm gonna make, there we go, there's your triangle. So if this is 125, the linear pair, you do 180 minus 25, this has to be 55 degrees. And this has to be 55 degrees. And this has to be 125. So I got one of the corners of my triangle figured out. Now, if this is 105, then this is also 105 because they're corresponding. So 180 minus 105, that means this has got to be 75. And now the only one left is this one. So in a triangle, 3 angles add and give you 180. So if you punch in 180, minus 75, enter, minus 55, enter, that's going to give you 50. So this much has got to be 50. And 50 and x are supplementary, they're a linear pair. So 50 and x, if x is 50, or if this is 50, x has to be 130. Because they add and give you 180. Okay, now let's move everything back to how it was. Okay, oh, this one's a good one because it's a quadratic. So, but there's no line indication saying these are parallel. So I think the problem is find what you're gonna put for y and x that would make them parallel. So we want to make them parallel because right now they're not, or else they'd be marked up. So what values would make them parallel? Okay, so this guy right here, this y squared, is the same as this. These are congruent because they're alternate interior angles. So I can go y squared is equal to 8y minus 15. And now it's a quadratic equation, so I'm going to get everything on the same side. Y squared minus 8y plus 15 is equal to 0. But because it's a quadratic, y is going to have 2 roots. There's going to be 2 solutions. So you could use the quadratic formula. But this one I think is easy enough to factor because it starts with 1, and anytime it starts with 1 for your a, if your a is 1, then try and factor it. So can you find 2 numbers that times give you 15 but add and give you negative 8? And if you factor it, you should factor it down to a minus 3 and a minus 5. They multiply, give you positive 15. They add and give you negative 8. So that means y could be 2 different things. Y could be 3, or it could be 5. So we got to try them both out. If y is 3, let's try that first. Let's try 3. So let's take 3 and plug it in. 3 squared, that means this is 9 degrees. And 8 times 3 is 24. 24 take away 15, this is also 9 degrees. So when y is 3, x has to equal 171, because 171 plus 9 is 180, and these are supplementary because they're alternate interior. But now we're going to go and let y be 5. So when y is equal to 5, now the numbers are going to change a little bit. So if it's equal to 5, then you square it. This is going to be 25. This is going to be 40 minus 15. That's 25. So 25 was supplementary with 25. It's got to be 155. That means x has got to be 155 when y is equal to 5. Alright. Okay, now the bottom one, we gotta figure out which lines are gonna be parallel, and then you gotta justify it with the theorem or the postulates. So first, 2 is congruent to 9, so let me mark that. 2 is gonna be the same as 9. That means U is gonna be parallel to V. So I've got all these lines, R, S, T, U, V. So U and V are gonna be parallel because, so these are the parallel lines and they're cut by line S. So 2 and 9 are congruent because they are alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent only if the lines are parallel. So that means these lines must be parallel because my alternate exterior angles are congruent. So 3 is congruent to 5. 3 matches up with 5. I think it's the same lines, line U and line V. So 3 and 5, U is parallel to V because alternate interior angles are congruent. And that only happens on parallel lines. Okay, the last one, measure of angle 7 plus measure of angle 8. So you're looking here and here, 7 and 8. That would mean that this line and this line are parallel. So R is parallel to S because my consecutive interior angles are supplementary. And they're only supplementary if your lines are parallel. Alright, now you want to make them parallel, so kind of like the one we did earlier, you got to find the value of x so that they will be parallel. So I want to make M parallel to N, and these are consecutive interiors, so that means they are supplementary. So I've got to do the algebra is 7x minus 2 plus the 10 minus 3x, and that has got to total to give you 180. So combine your like terms, your total of x's is going to be 4x and your 1's is going to be 8. So now minus 8, so 4x is equal to 172. So then you just got to divide by 4, And the first one, for those to be parallel, the only number in the world is 43. When you let x be 43, those will be supplementary, making parallel lines. Okay, the middle one, so this little mark indicates a 90 degree. If that's 90, then that's 90. And then that's 90, and they're all 90. So for them to be parallel, I want the tops to all be 90 as well. So then the 5x minus 20, I want that to be 90. So plus 20, so 5x equals 110 divided by 5, 110 divided by 5. X for this one has got to be equal to 22. The last one, for these to be parallel, these angles have got to be congruent because they're alternate exterior angles. So congruent, I got to do 3x minus 14 and set it equal to 2x plus 25. And then just do the algebra, minus 2x, So you got x, I'm going to plus 14, x is equal to 39. Okay, now this one, oh, it looks kind of sloppy, but it's a pretty good problem. First move, we need to name 4 pairs of corresponding angles, so they're kind of in the same location, and this is hard. It took me forever to find them. So the first ones jump out to me are 2 and 4. So you're looking at the line right here. If you extend these lines, and here's your transversal, 2 corresponds to 4. Alright, so the next pair. Let's see if we can find another pair. Kind of got to extend lines, draw lines out. How about, okay, this one, 4 and 9. So that would mean I'd have to extend that line out, and then this would be my transversal. So these are in the same location, same position, so angle 4 and angle 9. Alright, so we got 2 of the 4, so there must be 2 more pairs at least. The other 2 are over here, 1 and 7. So that means this line right here, if you extend it, and if you extend this, then this is your transversal that cuts them. So 1 and 7 are in the same location. And then your last pair, I think we can use, what are we going to use? Can we use this 5? I think we can show 5 and 10. So, how are we going to show 5 and 10? 5, we got to use these lines right here. We got to extend that one out. You got to extend that one out, and then this is your transversal right here. And then 5 is kind of in the top left, 10 is in the top left. So angle 5 and angle 10. So there's 4 pairs of corresponding angles. Now the next bullet. If AC and DE are parallel, so AC, let me extend that out, is parallel to DE, and the measure of angle 2 is 55, so if 2 is 55 degrees, figure out how much 6 is. Okay, 2 and 6 are alternate interior angles, so they're congruent, so 6 must also be 55 degrees. And that's it. The next question. Now BD is going to be parallel with CF. So BD is this line right here. CF is this line right here. Measure of angle 3 is 140. So 3 is 140. And we want to find 4. Okay, here's your transversal. 4 must be 40 because 3 and 4 are consecutive interior and they're supplementary. So 4's got to be 40 degrees. And then this last question, which lines are parallel if 3 and 6 are supplementary? So 3 and 6, these 2 right here, we want to make these consecutive interior. So let's do, is it the same 2 lines? If you do that and this is your transversal, then 3 and 6 will be consecutive interior. So that means line DE and line AC. Okay, now let's compose a proof, and I'm going to use the same picture. So angle 6 and angle 9 are congruent, so I'm going to use congruence marks. This angle is congruent to this angle. That's what we're given. And then you want to show, so I must show the angle 3 plus angle 4 equals 180. They're supplementary. How are we gonna do this? If you know 6 and 9 are congruent, we want to show 3 and 4 are supplementary. Uh-oh. Might have to play around with this one for a minute. Okay. So I don't think it's too bad. So 6 and 9 are congruent. So let me do a little 2 column. So here's my statement, and then this is my reason. So I'm going to start off, angle 6 is congruent to angle 9, and that's given. So what that means now is line CF is parallel to line BD. That means these have to be parallel. So now this line and this line are parallel, and the reason is these are alternate interior angles are congruent, and alternate interior angles are congruent only if the lines are parallel. So now if these are parallel, that means angle 3 plus angle 4 has got to be 180, because these are consecutive interior angles if the lines are parallel. Consecutive interior angles are supplementary, only in parallel lines. So, not too bad.